Coming up on Carolina News, it's Halloween and the weather is looking scary for trick-or-treaters. Find out what it will look like outside. And after a police officer was hit by a car while on duty as a crossing guard, police and state lawmakers are taking measures to stop distracted driving. Plus, the impeachment inquiry into President Trump takes another step forward in a landslide vote.
This is a solemn day in the history of our country when the president's misconduct has compelled us to continue to move forward with an impeachment inquiry.
Carolina News starts now.
From the University of South Carolina, your news, your sports, your weather. Carolina News begins now.
Hello and welcome to Carolina News. I'm Madison Thiel.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Rogers. It's Halloween and trick-or-treaters are preparing to go out across the nation.
But here in Columbia, there may be some severe weather coming our way. McKenna Cieslak is live in the greenhouse with our weather report. McKenna, is it going to be safe outside for trick-or-treaters?
Yeah, guys, so the weather is predicted to look like it's straight out of a Halloween horror movie fitting tonight's theme, but not looking so good for those that are headed out to trick-or-treat soon. If we take a look at the radar here, the rain is moving in from the west, hitting the upper region of South Carolina, and will make its way to Columbia at the height of trick-or-treat time tonight, around 5:30 to 6 p.m. The rain is expected to stop at about 8 tonight. Not the news we want to hear as we prepare to head out for tonight's festivities, but what you can expect is to be grabbing an umbrella and rain jacket before you head out the door. Stay safe and stay tuned for your full forecast later on in the show. Back to you guys in the studio.
After the rain passes through, I'm sure the trick-or-treaters will be out in full force. Reporter Callista Brown is live at a local costume shop with tips for those participating in this evening's festivities. Callista?
Thanks, guys. I'm here at the Halloween Express in West Columbia, and there's more last-minute shoppers than you'd expect buying their costumes for tonight. But the most important thing you'll need for tonight is something you can't buy. Halloween is all about the candy and costumes, but your night can get scary if you aren't being safe. Terrell McCombs from Columbia Police Department has tips for tonight, especially for those going out for the first time.
I always say you want to make sure that you, for one, walk in a group. If you have a group of parents that have been before, you want to walk with them, stay with them. Always go to well-lit areas, never go into a stranger's home, and also make sure you always check your kids' candy before they eat it. I understand, kids, they love candy, as do I, but the first thing you want to do is make sure you check your candy. You do have people out here that do harm to kids, and you want to make sure that that is not happening to your child, so you want to always make sure you check your kids' candy.
Jen Herod, mother of two, tells her daughters to be safe.
Stay on the sidewalks. Always watch when you cross the street because there's cars coming in the neighborhood.
And last but not least,
get the good candy.
tonight, make sure you have a flashlight or a way to make yourself visible to drivers. Be careful of masks like these that make it hard to see. Stay in a group and have fun. Happy Halloween, and back to you in the studio.
By now, you've most likely seen that shocking video of a Kershaw County deputy getting hit by a car while directing traffic in front of an elementary school. Well, it turns out it was another case of distracted driving. Carolina News reporter Catherine Polovchek rode along with the Richland County Sheriff today to learn just how hard it is for police to make sure drivers are keeping their eyes on the road.
It's not uncommon to see people at 80 miles, 100 miles an hour out here. And you're taking your eyes off the road.
It happens every day.
By the time you look down, comprehend, read a text message, start to formulate a reply, you've gone a football field, probably more than that.
But it's legal in South Carolina.
I wasn't texting. I mean, it's almost an impossible law to prove.
And if you're one of the thousands of South Carolinians not paying attention behind the wheel, this can happen. So even though the Kershaw County deputy that was involved in that wreck was wearing a safety vest like the one I have on now, it didn't matter because the driver never looked up from their phone. So now, state lawmakers are stepping in. State Senator Tom Young has filed a bill in the Senate to make South Carolina the 21st hands-free state, making not just texting while driving illegal, but using a cell phone while driving at all.
Law enforcement says that this bill actually will make it easier for them to enforce.
And I saw firsthand just how difficult it was for Deputy Sheriff Copenhaver to enforce while we rode around on a routine traffic circuit, seeing instances that under the proposed bill would carry at least a $100 ticket and 2 points on their license, but for now, police can't do anything about.
every day that goes by that we don't pass this legislation in South Carolina is another day that people could die on the roads because of distracted drivers.
And that's what State Senator Young is trying to change in South Carolina, to avoid other close calls like this. Reporting in Richland County for Carolina News, I'm Catherine Polofchek.
Currently, the bill proposed by State Senator Young is sitting in committee, and the deputy involved in that collision is okay and was released from the hospital the same day.
A man suffering from a mental health episode fired shots at deputies in Kershaw County last night. Deputies made their way to the scene at Malvern Hill Drive in Camden after receiving a call about the escalating situation. The man held a gun to his head, but when officers arrived, he fired at them. The man was taken to the hospital after the incident, and no deputies were hurt. A bill introduced in the state Senate back in April is proposing major changes to the organization and selection process of the University of South Carolina Board of Trustees. A meeting today of the Senate Education Subcommittee gave more insight to possible changes. Reporter Sarah Pritchard is live in the newsroom to tell us more.
That's right, Madison. Senate Bill 798 proposes reducing the size of the board and the areas from which the elected members are selected. Now, the way the Board of Trustees is currently organized, 16 of the 20 members are elected from each of the state's judicial circuits by the General Assembly. But this bill wants to amend that to make it 7 elected members of an 11-person board. In today's meeting, we heard opinions from consultants from the Association of Governing Boards of Universities and Colleges, as well as the chairman of the board, John Von Leahy.
I always talk about board governance as the ultimate team sport. You could debate, you can go at each other all you want, but ultimately there needs to be an emphasis on the institution's mission.
That was the main message heard from the 2 consultants from AGB today. They made it clear that they were working to develop the board and make improvements by eliminating any perceived or real undue political influence.
The process of electing and appointing nearly all public institution trustees in the state of South Carolina gives the appearance and perhaps the reality of a conflict of interest for all board members.
This potential conflict of interest was what had many students and faculty upset when the Board of Trustees called a surprise vote over the summer to elect Bob Caslin as USC's next president. But the chairman of the board, John Von Leahy, doesn't see it that way. He says limiting the number of trustees wouldn't allow the university to conduct business properly and fears it would eliminate what little diversity already exists on the board.
I like the method that we have today, which is with the 16 elected across the state from these various areas for the reasons I've given. I think it works very well.
While there was no vote on the bill today, the Senate Education Subcommittee will meet again to debate and take up possible amendments to the bill. If it passes there, it will go to the full Education Committee and eventually could make its way to the Senate. We'll find out the future of this bill this spring when the legislature is back in session. But for now, back to you guys in the studio.
The father of 5-year-old Nevaeh Adams has filed a lawsuit against Lantana Apartments. The body of Nevaeh's mother, Sheree Bradley, was found dead in the apartment complex on August 5th. The lawsuit filed by Dupre Adams alleges that in the last 5 years there have been numerous reports of criminal and dangerous activity at the apartments and the surrounding area. Changes are underway in Columbia's Divine Street. The old Shandon neighborhood is the latest hotspot for prime real estate, and we have an early look inside the Divine District. The new complex of luxury condominiums named Trolley at Divine will be located at the corner of Divine and Maple and are set to open next month.
Coming up next on Carolina News.
Big moves are being made in Washington after a landslide vote today in the House of Representatives as the impeachment inquiry continues.